Your dreams are being strangled by the very people cheering for you. Every like you receive is a silent nail in the coffin of your future. If you don't learn the secret of the dark soil now, you will spend your life talking about a version of yourself that never existed. Have you ever felt the chilling weight of a dream that died before it even lived? You know that spark, the one that sets your skin on fire at 2 in the morning, making you believe that this time, finally, everything is going to change. And then, you do the one thing you've been told is the key to success. You tell the world. You post it. You announce it. You let the praise of your friends and family wash over you like a warm tide. But here is the terrifying truth that no one wants to admit. A truth that might actually shock you. In that very moment of celebration, you are committing a slow, silent murder of your own ambition. You are leaking the lifeblood of your future self through your mouth. And by the time you wake up tomorrow, the fire won't just be dim. It will be gone, replaced by a cold, hollow emptiness that tastes like a betrayal of your own potential. We have been lied to about the nature of accountability. And today, I am going to show you why your biggest plans are actually being strangled by the very people who are cheering for you. Welcome to Water Concept Mindset, a space where we strip away the noise to find the true flow of the human spirit. If you feel that this journey of discovery is something you need in your life, please subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us keep building this sanctuary for those who are tired of living on the surface and are ready to do the deep work. We live in a dopamine-drenched era where the announcement has become more valuable than the achievement. When we speak our dreams out loud before they have roots, our brains are tricked by a cruel biological glitch. The moment someone says, "Great job," or "You are so inspiring," your brain releases a hit of satisfaction so intense that it confuses the praise with the finished product. You have received the social reward without doing a single hour of labor. This is the dopamine trap, a psychological loop that leaves you feeling successful while your hands are still empty. I have lived in this cycle myself, standing in the ruins of a dozen announced projects, wondering why my drive vanished the moment the applause stopped. We are not just losing motivation, we are losing our power. But there is a way out, a secret found in the dark, silent soil of effort. To truly understand how to stop this leakage of your soul, we must look at the tragic yet transformative journey of a man named Simon. To truly grasp the cost of this psychological leakage, we have to look at the life of a man whose world was defined by the very noise we struggle to silence today. Imagine a village where everyone knew Simon not for what he had done, but for what he was about to do. He was the archetype of untapped potential, a man whose mind was a vibrant gallery of brilliant, unfinished masterpieces. When I look at Simon, I don't see a stranger. I see the reflection of every version of myself that ever prioritized a headline over the story. In the village square, Simon was a star. He didn't just have ideas, he had performances. One Monday, he would stand atop a stone bench, eyes wide with the fever of a new vision. "I will build a spice shop that rivals the Silk Road," he'd proclaim, his voice carrying the conviction of a king. And the villagers, bless their hearts, would feed the beast. They clapped, they cheered, and they projected their own hopes onto him. In those moments, Simon felt like a giant. But there is a specific, quiet tragedy in the morning that follows a grand announcement. While the village slept, Simon would stare at a blank ledger or a dirty floor, and the fire would feel like cold ash. He realized, too late, that the excitement wasn't in the spice, it was in the applause. This cycle became his identity. He announced a pottery studio, but the clay stayed dry and gray. He promised a stone house with a hearth that never felt a flame. Slowly, the clapping grew thinner. The cheers turned into those polite, pity-laden smiles that hurt worse than an insult. He became a man living in a house of echoes, surrounded by the ghosts of dreams he had talked to death. The shame began to sit in his bones, heavy and immovable. He wasn't lazy. He was just seduced by the echo of his own voice. One evening, Exhausted by the weight of his own emptiness, he sat by the village well, a place of deep, cool silence. It was there that he met the elder. The elder didn't carry a grand blueprint or a loud voice. He carried the quiet authority of a man who had spent his life doing, not describing. As he sat next to Simon, the contrast was deafening. The man who had said everything and done nothing, sitting beside the man who said nothing because his work had already said it all. This encounter was about to reveal the secret of the two seeds. The elder didn't offer a lecture or a strategy. Instead, he held out two identical seeds, small and unassuming, as if they were the very fragments of Simon's fractured potential. This was the moment where philosophy met biology, and the lesson that followed would strip away every excuse I had ever made for my own unfinished projects. The elder handed one seed to Simon, instructing him to bury it deep in the cool, dark moisture of the earth, hidden from every eye. But the second seed was treated like a trophy. The elder placed it on a flat, sun-drenched rock in the center of the garden and called the neighborhood children to witness its greatness. He painted a vivid picture of the towering tree it would become, inviting everyone to admire its future glory. For days, that seed on the rock was the talk of the village, a symbol of potential, bathed in light and surrounded by praise. But while the villagers cheered, the sun was quietly parching its core, and the wind was stripping away its protective shell. It was famous, but it was dying. This is the brutal reality of what psychologists call the identity-related symbols theory. When we announce a goal, especially one tied to who we want to be and receive social recognition for it, our brain undergoes a dangerous chemical shift. It receives a premature sense of completeness. Because the world has already acknowledged you as the future business owner or the aspirational athlete, the psychological tension required to actually do the grueling work evaporates. The brain thinks the mountain has already been climbed because it has already heard the applause from the summit. Meanwhile, the seed in the dark soil was undergoing a lonely, pressurized transformation. It had no audience, no warmth from the crowd, and no one to tell it how beautiful it would eventually be. It was forced to struggle in the silence, breaking its own skin just to find a foothold in the dirt. But that darkness wasn't a prison, it was a sanctuary. Nature teaches us that growth is inherently private. A root that is constantly dug up to be shown to the neighbors will never hold a tree upright. We must understand that our most fragile dreams require a period of invisibility to develop the structural integrity needed to survive the world. Without the silence of the soil, there is no strength in the branch. Watching that tiny sprout finally break through the dirt was the moment Simon understood that his life's work was not a performance, but a private conversation between his hands and his materials. He went home that night, not with a grand speech prepared for the village square, but with a quiet, steely resolve to reclaim the power he had been bleeding away for years. He chose a simple, humble goal: to build a wooden chair. In the past, he would have described the curvature of the legs to every passerby until he was blue in the face. But this time, he retreated into the shadows of his workshop and locked the door. The first few nights were an agony of withdrawal. Every time he made progress smoothing a joint or selecting a fine piece of oak, his brain screamed for the dopamine hit of external validation. He wanted to run to the tavern and say, "Look what I'm doing." He craved the applause he used to survive on, but he stayed. He learned to find a different kind of satisfaction, one that didn't depend on a single pair of clapping hands. When he made a mistake and the wood split, he didn't have to feel the crushing shame of a public failure. He simply sat in the cool silence of his shed, analyzed the fracture, and began again. This is what I call the sanctuary of silence, the only place where you can truly fail and iterate without the distorting lens of other people's expectations. Weeks turned into months of sanding, chiseling, and sweat. When the chair was finally finished, Simon didn't carry it to the market. He simply sat in it. He felt the solid weight of his own effort beneath him, a physical manifestation of a promise kept to himself. It was a pride that didn't need an audience to exist. When his neighbor finally noticed the chair through an open window and gasped at its craftsmanship, asking why he hadn't said a word, Simon's response was a revelation of maturity. "I wanted to make sure it could hold weight before I asked anyone to admire it." This is the shift we must all make. We need to stop seeking credit for our potential and start earning it through our persistence. To build something that lasts, you must first be willing to be invisible, trading the hollow noise of the crowd for the deep, resonant thrum of a job well done. That single chair was just the beginning of a life where Simon finally understood that the most profound monuments are built in the shadows, far away from the distorting heat of public approval. As the years passed, he transformed into a master craftsman, but his process remained as invisible as the roots of an oak. He stopped being the man who promised the world and became the man who simply delivered it. He no longer needed to feed on the hollow rush of empty pride because he had discovered a nourishment that was far deeper. The quiet, steady satisfaction of seeing a finished work stand on its own 2 feet. He realized that when your work is truly strong, it doesn't need a spokesperson. It creates its own gravity. Now, I want you to look closely at the landscape of your own life. How many of your most beautiful dreams have you accidentally talked to death? How many times have you traded the long, grueling journey of becoming for the cheap, instant thrill of being seen? We have to stop treating our ambitions like currency to be spent in social circles and start treating them like seeds that belong in the dark. This is my manifesto for you. Redefine your success. Stop measuring your progress by how many people know what you're doing and start measuring it by how much of the work is actually done. I have a challenge for you today, and it's a difficult one. I want you to pick that one thing, the project, the habit, the change that you've been leaking to everyone lately, and I want you to bury it. Stop the updates. Stop the day one posts. Stop seeking the good for you from people who aren't in the trenches with you. Take that dream and put it back into the soil of silence. Let it struggle. Let it be lonely. Let it face the cold pressure of reality without the artificial warmth of a like. The world is already drowning in noise and blueprints for things that will never exist. It doesn't need more announcements. It needs results. It needs the buildings, not the sketches. So, next time you feel that desperate itch to tell the world about your grand plan, remember Simon and the elder. Stay quiet. Stay invisible. Let the seed grow in the darkness of your own effort. When the tree is finally strong enough to touch the sky, believe me, the world will see it without you saying a single word. Go back to your workshop. The silence is waiting for you. The story of Simon serves as a profound warning for our digital age, where the line between doing and showing has become dangerously blurred. We have learned that the rush of dopamine we receive from an early announcement acts as a counterfeit for the satisfaction of a finished task, effectively killing our motivation before we even begin. The dark soil of the elder's garden represents the necessary sanctuary of privacy, a place where dreams can develop roots strong enough to withstand the storms of reality. By choosing to stay quiet, we are not being secretive out of fear, but protective out of respect for our own potential. We are choosing the long-term integrity of the oak tree over the short-lived fame of the seed on the rock. This journey reminds us that the only validation that truly matters is the internal heat of a job well done. When we finally stop seeking the approval of the crowd, we find the freedom to actually build something that can stand on its own. It is in this stillness that the most impactful versions of ourselves are finally born, transforming from people who talk about their destiny into those who simply live it. The deep lesson here is the paradox of ambition. The more you share the idea of yourself, the less energy you have to become that person. Public validation is a distraction that feeds the ego while starving the soul of the discipline it needs to grow. To apply this to your life right now, I invite you to try the 30 Days of Silence challenge. Identify one goal that matters deeply to you, whether it's a fitness milestone, a creative project, or a financial habit and commit to telling absolutely no one about it for the next month. Use the energy you would normally spend explaining your plans to instead fuel the work itself. Measure your success not by the feedback you get, but by the tangible progress you see when you are alone. What is one goal you have right now that you are willing to keep completely secret for the next 30 days? Please share your thoughts in the comments so we can see how many of us are ready to embrace the power of silence together and learn from each other's perspectives. If this reflection helped you see your path more clearly, please subscribe to support Water Concept Mindset. It gives us the motivation to continue building these deep dive stories for you. Let your work be your voice.